On entend souvent que les universités américaines sont les meilleures au monde, notamment en raison de leur renommée internationale, mais aussi à cause de tous les stéréotypes qui les entourent et les nombreux films qui nous ont fait rêver. Pour bien comprendre cette vidéo, je vous conseille d'aller voir mon précédent épisode, les universités américaines, afin de comprendre comment elles fonctionnent et en quoi elles sont différentes de la France. Après avoir réalisé cette vidéo, j'avais deux réactions dans les commentaires. D'un côté, certains étaient ébahis et ne cessaient de faire des éloges envers les universités américaines, allant presque jusqu'à rabaisser le système français. D'autres ont rapidement répliqué en critiquant l'éducation américaine, soulignant notamment les coûts ahurissants pour un confort non nécessaire et un niveau pas forcément supérieur. Mais qu'en est-il vraiment? Et surtout, qu'en pensent les étudiants concernés? Alors lançons le débat, les universités américaines méritent-elles leur renommée mondiale? C'est vrai que très souvent, quand on pense à une fac américaine, on pense aux grands noms, comme Harvard, Stanford ou Yale. Et ce n'est pas pour rien, ces universités sont souvent considérées comme les meilleures au monde, basées sur de nombreux facteurs. Dans le classement de 2020 de The Best Schools, par exemple, qui recense des dizaines de milliers d'universités dans le monde, les 52 des 100 meilleures facs au monde sont américaines, soit plus de la moitié. Bien sûr, il existe des classements différents, mais cette tendance revient souvent. Les meilleures universités au monde sont américaines. Mais qu'est-ce que tout cela signifie vraiment?
I think the reason maybe that a lot of American universities may be top ranked, probably because the organizations or bodies that are making these distinctions are possibly based here. If you think of Forbes, you know, that's an American company. And so it's going to have an American or Western slant to it. And there is a lot of criticism now in higher education of, you know, the rankings that go on. So it's not to say that we don't have really quality, top-notch institutions here in the United States, but it sort of gives a bias that that's really what it is. You know, there's some truth to it, but some valid criticism to it as well.
Parlons alors tarifs. L'un des plus gros reproches faits aux universités américaines, c'est leur prix exorbitant. Quand on voit qu'une université publique coûte en moyenne 10 000 $ par an pour les étudiants locaux et 22 500 $ pour ceux qui viennent d'un autre État, sans même mentionner les universités privées qui en moyenne coûtent près de 40 000 $ l'année, ça a de quoi choquer les Français dont les frais sont très faibles, voire même inexistants. En réalité, des études ont montré que les frais de scolarité aux États-Unis sont les plus élevés au monde. Il y a de quoi se demander pourquoi tant d'étrangers souhaitent s'y rendre, et surtout, comment les Américains financent leur éducation. Les étudiants américains sont-ils tous riches? Bien sûr que non. Et pourtant, beaucoup disent que ces frais rendent les études luxueuses, et que seuls les plus riches y ont accès. Pourtant, environ 40% des Américains ont un diplôme universitaire, contre environ 30% en France, où c'est gratuit, en incluant les diplômes courts comme les BTS. Les universités américaines sont-elles donc si inaccessibles qu'on le pense?
American education being a luxury, in some ways, yes, and that's a bit of a problem I think that we're kind of facing now in American higher education is sort of the expansion of, let's say, having nicer residence halls than maybe existed back in the 70s or 80s. I have sisters who, you know, went to college in the 80s, and I remember visiting their residence halls, and they looked, you know, probably what we would consider almost like prison blocks by today's standards. So building these, you know, nice things costs money, obviously, and then it costs money to run. So, and American higher education is kind of focused on a lot of these things. And so, you know, since the 60s or 70s. So yes, that is going to, you know, drive up the cost, and then again, maybe drive up the expectation of, again, students and their parents. So it's kind of hard to put a price on things, but I wouldn't say that I am in any way disagree with some of the criticism of that that's going on in higher education now in the United States, because I do think, you know, it is getting a little too costly and maybe in some ways not necessarily sustainable.
So I managed to finance my education two ways. One, Actually, my dad works at Cornell Medical College in New York City, and one of his benefits is that it actually pays for my tuition. So that helps immensely because that also traveled with me when I went abroad. So that check also paid for my tuition in Madrid, Spain at UC3M. And so what I ended up having to pay for was my room and board, which is the dormitory as well as the meal plan. And of course that was expensive too. In order to finance that, I took out school loans, which is unfortunate. I know a lot of people abroad don't really go through like loans necessarily, but that's because of the way the meal plans are. It's about $4,000 something, dormitory as well per semester. It gets really expensive.
Tuition was always a problem. Tuition fees is always higher compared when you convert the currency and everything. But the universities in the US have a really good advantage where they waive off graduation fees in terms of graduate assistantships and other student assistantships, and they also give you scholarships. So if you apply for them, tuition fees is quite negligible at the end of the day. I always wanted to go to the UK, but the problem with the UK is, one, they have really high tuition fees, and most of the time they do not provide with grants or scholarship, or it's not easy to get those grants. The second is that they are not very student friendly. Europe was more expensive compared to the US.
So with my dad's help, because of his job and my loans, I was able to afford school. At the same time, I'm also a student activities manager, which means you're a manager of the student union building and the atrium, and that helps me finance my time here as well because it pays for my room. And I think that, of course, sometimes it's difficult to have to work and do your academics in order to pay for school, but it also, in my experience, is giving me opportunities to do other things. Like, because I am a student activities manager, I've been able to meet different professionals from different departments. In those connections, on another occasion, I was able to interview them for coursework or just meet them in and outside of the classroom and in and outside of this building and maintain those connections. And some of those connections have fostered into friendships with other adults, which is what I like about being able to work on campus and making those connections. But the downside is that, of course, I don't want to work all the time to finance my education. I would rather, sometimes, especially like when I was in Spain, I loved not working. I was able to walk around and go to the movies and hang out with friends and do things in the moment. And a lot of the times having to work impedes me from being able to just have a night out of fun on the whim, because in the back of my mind I'm like, okay, I have work at 9 o'clock, or I have work this weekend, so I can't go hiking at Mohawk or go hiking at Minnewaska. Even on a beautiful day, it may be that I'm indoors helping out with something for work. So there are definitely some pros and cons to that.
Mais malgré tout, est-ce que ces frais élevés sont forcément synonymes de bonne qualité ? Dans ma précédente vidéo, un commentaire disait la chose suivante. Ce que je trouve personnellement tragique, c'est que le prix de ces universités n'est pas vraiment parallèle au niveau scolaire. Dans 95% des universités nord-américaines, les cours sont ultra simples, ça fait même peur parfois. C'est ce que je trouve tragique. En effet, l'imaginaire collectif européen, et mondial en général, garde en tête les prestigieuses universités qui représentent à peine 5% du total des universités. Et ça, en soi, c'est pas faux. Pour avoir été étudiant aux États-Unis et en France, je peux certifier que les cours sont bien plus simples aux États-Unis. Et en effet, d'après une étude faite en 2014 sur le niveau en maths des étudiants, il est assez faible et même bien en dessous de la moyenne. Mais que faire de ces chiffres ? Est-ce que cela veut vraiment dire que les études américaines ont un niveau trop bas et donc qu'elles sont mauvaises ?
I did not expect the course level to be so easy. It's generally really easy on the students, and I thought it was going to be much more difficult at a graduate level, but it's really well broken down. Like, it's broken down so well that it's easier to learn every day. You don't have to have prior knowledge to the subject, but when you go to class, they break it down so well that you can actually learn on a day-to-day basis.
So for me, what made my courses hard abroad were they were counting for my Spanish minor, and there was a lot of pressure for me to on myself to do well because I wanted it to count as a good grade, to graduate, etc. And it was something that was going to count towards me in what I was studying. And so what made it hard was that tests counted so much. Oh my goodness, like that, I was not ready for that. Most of my exams counted as 60% of my grade. And that wasn't only the final, that was like the first exam, maybe the midterm, and then the final. And here in America, we have like exams, quizzes, homework, we have participation, we have all these different factors that go into our grade, and you can talk with your professor to kind of help you out or go to office hours. And abroad, even though my professors were willing to give office hours, it was very short. It was like, okay, come in, maybe 5-10 minutes, okay, next person. There wasn't that true like individual one-on-one time, and I missed that.
At a primary school level, I think my education in India was better for sure, but at a graduate level, I think it needs to be broken down the way it's been done in the US. It does help in making my skills better. And at a graduate level, I think it's more specific, so I don't have to know everything, I just have to know what I need to know in terms of my graduation or my job. So in that sense, it does make sense to be easier in those terms, but it's not like really easy, but it's just broken down really well.
Having a heavier course load, I think sometimes makes things worse on a student, especially if they're involved in clubs or have jobs, etc. Because instead of focusing on enjoying your time in college and learning from your experiences, you're so focused on just getting an A. For my major, it's not hard to get an A if you're willing to put in the work and continue revising, because with writing, there's always a revision process. And so that's what makes it more feasible to get an A. Not necessarily easy, but if you're willing to put in the work, you can get an A. And then with another, like abroad, with my Spanish courses, for me it was harder because that again is my second language, and their Spanish versus my US Spanish / Puerto Rican Spanish is very different. So it was almost as if I was like also learning another language, even though it was Spanish, and also getting adjusted to being abroad. So all those things combined factored into the types of grades I got. Here, I'm already accustomed to being here. So I think that has nothing to do with like my grades, but it definitely took a toll when I was abroad, because I was still getting used to everything, and then on top of that, I had to worry about my studies.
I know now, at least in K-12 and, American education, that there's a lot of emphasis on, standards, certain assessments and things of that nature. And I think in some ways that may have an impact on student learning, and that may be why we're not doing, or American test scores aren't, as high as they would be in other countries. But, another sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Benefit or unique quality of American education is that we do focus on learning itself. And that's particularly true of a liberal education, liberal arts education. So, students are learning how to learn, which I think is valuable, in addition to skills, because, when you get out into the job market, you're able to learn new skills and maybe acquire new skills as opposed to being very technical to start with. So having a good balance of that, I do think is important, but I don't think that, low test scores in math really are an indicator that, the American education system is bad compared to other countries.
D'ailleurs, tous les investissements dans les infrastructures ne sont pas futiles. Plusieurs études ont montré que les activités extrascolaires aident au développement des étudiants, ce qui mène à des meilleurs résultats et bien sûr à un taux plus élevé d'obtention de diplôme. Au final, il est légitime de se demander si cela vaut vraiment la peine d'avoir un niveau plus difficile mais moins d'épanouissement, et surtout, quel système est le plus bénéfique sur le long terme.
One of the other reasons coming to the US was to explore the culture. In India, we don't really have clubs or groups or gaming zones or gaming nights or cultural nights in India related to the campus life or the university, whereas here it's very centered to the university. And I always wanted to know more about it and be a part of it, because it's only in student life that you get to experience in a first-hand way. Otherwise, it's just around there and you never participate really.
I wasn't really involved in my university abroad because there was really nothing to get involved in. It was like classwork, home, hang out with your friends. It wasn't like here where like there's an event in the NPR or the sub or something happening outside. So social events at New Paltz helped me succeed in my studies because I think they helped me connect to other people who were older than me, had things going on that I want to know about. So for example, my freshman year, I became part of the campus TV station called WMPC TV. And there I met like my TV friends, people who were graduating soon, who could tell me about what they were going to be up to and how I could further propel my college career at New Paltz as someone who wants to be a journalist. And so that helped me a lot because I just learned how to work in a team, how to edit on Adobe Premiere, how to talk with people and like constantly work with them to get news packages done and on YouTube. And so all that combined, even though it's a social event and it's something that happened every week, definitely helped me succeed because from that experience I was able to land an internship with MSNBC. Without all that experience with the college TV station, I wouldn't really have anything to back me up to try to get an internship in the field. Besides my coursework, and everyone who's a journalism major is going to have the same coursework. So what's going to help me stand apart? And that was my connections and my work at the TV station.
I think having these clubs and activities related to the university helps in an overall development of a student, and it's just not academics, but also probably if it's dance, if it's music, or if it's event organization or a game night or anything, whichever you're interested in. And there are so many clubs for every sort of interest. I think it just adds on to your personality as a person. So when you graduate or when you get out of the university, you know more than one thing, and you know something that better which you were fond of or you had a hobby about, but then you meet friends and you join clubs and it just grows from there. So I think in that sense it's really helpful and it rounds a person.
I think something that may be hard to find elsewhere is that one-to-one professor to peer or professor to student like partnership and relationship. I think you have professors here who are willing to give a lot of time in their office hours to help you individually with a problem or academically. You have that opportunity to do so. And I think New Paltz prides themselves in having office hours, having that one-to-one instruction. And I think the US does a good job in advising. Depending on who you have, as who your professor is in the major, you get paired with an advisor that just helps you pick your courses for the next semester, give you advice for the summers, winter courses if need be. And just as you become a senior, they're helping guide your college career path so that can help you propel your real world path out in the field. And so I think they're trained in guiding us in that way, and I think they do a good job of that. I've had really, really good advisors who became mentors, so I can go to them in and outside of the classroom.
Tout ça, c'est bien beau, mais au final, est-ce que ça vaut le coup ? Parce que oui, face à des frais qui ne cessent d'augmenter, de plus en plus d'Américains se demandent s'il ne faut pas revenir au bon vieux concept du self-made man. Avec la facilité de se former sur Internet et surtout en voyant le nombre de milliardaires qui ne possèdent pas de diplôme, on peut se demander quelle est la vraie utilité des universités à notre époque.
You know, there's some data that show otherwise. You know, it's not everybody who doesn't attend higher education that is able to become successful. So those are good, you know, success stories. They do offer kind of like an alternative path for some people who may not be interested in attending higher education. But I also think, you know, higher education also broadens you and what you learn and experience and how you view the world and becoming, you know, a good citizen and, you know, being able to think critically and good writing skills and, you know, being able to interact with people from different backgrounds. So I do think there's, you know, obviously value in that.
It's worth it to spend money if on a college or in a university if you're going to make the most of it. So look for jobs, get involved, talk with your professors, make relationships with other people. Don't just stay like in a bubble, kind of like branch out, maybe use those experiences to elevate an internship or some other job. All those things combined at least at an American university is what makes it worth it. And then of course, opportunities to go abroad are what make it worth it, make the money worth towards going somewhere else. And just being open to different cultures and different people.
Au final, la plus importante chose est de trouver un mode qui nous convient. On peut critiquer le système américain, mais il ne faut pas oublier que beaucoup de pays n'ont pas accès à un système de qualité, alors que les États-Unis peuvent offrir une expérience plutôt exceptionnelle et de très bonne qualité, d'où le nombre d'étudiants internationaux. Il est impossible de mettre tout le monde d'accord sur quel est le meilleur système, tout simplement car il n'existe pas, puisque nous avons tous besoin de trouver ce qui nous correspond. Pour ma part, je sais que malgré le niveau très facile des cours, j'ai appris bien plus en 1 an aux États-Unis que 2 années en France, notamment grâce à tout ce qui est fait à côté des cours pour le développement personnel et professionnel des étudiants, qui au final a bien plus de valeur que toutes les connaissances que l'on nous fait avaler et qui seront oubliées le semestre prochain. On ne cherche pas à faire de nous des génies, mais à nous faire grandir et réfléchir. Mais encore une fois, ce n'est qu'une expérience personnelle qui ne correspond pas à tout le monde. Descendre le système français car l'Amérique fait rêver, c'est une erreur. Mais réprouver complètement le système américain, c'est généralement le méconnaître. Le débat est alors lancé dans les commentaires et j'attends de voir vos arguments pour et contre. Et surtout, je serai content de savoir à quoi ressemble, selon vous, le système idéal.
No, I don't think anyone should say like American education is the best in the world if they haven't been to every other country or every other place that has an education outlet. And I think maybe people who say that mean institutional education, but what about education in traveling or education through like poetry workshops and like those localized things? Maybe America is not the best place for that. Maybe another cultural capital is, or a big city. So I think it just depends on who's saying it. And most people who say that are ethnocentric. They think America is like the best place in the world, but they probably haven't really been to any other country or any other place, and they just need to be a little bit more open-minded.
For us not realizing that we have quality education and not taking it for granted, that's something I think not only pertaining to education but to a lot of things here in America. Sometimes when I feel like I have a problem, with problem at work, problem in my personal life, something like that, I have to step back and realize, look at what just happened in Mozambique with the cyclone that hit those people, and how unfortunate that is, that we actually have good schools here. Even though I said some critical things about our education system a few moments ago, it's not all that bad either at the same time. Being able to go to school and get an education when people in other countries don't even have their basic needs met is a very important thing. So that's kind of the message that I would say is at least we can do some things here in America that people unfortunately can't do in other parts of the world, and that we should be happy for what we have here, but also want to see some of these things other countries develop at the same time, and be able to provide their citizens the things that we provide here. But we are very fortunate here in America, there's no doubt about that.